Good day and welcome to Predators Proclivity. Yes, the show where we look at data from the season for the NHL Nashville Predators, who aren't playing, so it's going to be a little tough, and make comments upon it. I guess I commented already. Predators are not playing. Let's see. The Admirals are now in the North Division Finals. That's Central Division Finals. They're 1-1. They did win. They're playing the Texas Stars. Interesting because we've got a few Predators players down there. Mark Del Gaizo got called out for being very instrumental in their playoff run. Good for him. But yeah, the Texas Stars, they played 2 in Texas to start out, and now they're going to play 3 in Milwaukee. So 1-1. So Milwaukee was able to take the second game of that series in Texas and move on. They had a tough time with Rockford. That one was not looking so promising. Rockford won the first 2, and then Milwaukee came back and won the last 3. That was a touch on the scary side of things. But yeah, so that's the Predators. So there's not really been a lot of things to comment on as far as what the Predators are doing in the free agency. I'm not quite sure why. I think probably those that are playing, a lot of the ones that they've got are playing with Milwaukee. Luke Evangelista being, I think, the one. He's a restricted free agent at the end of the year that is not playing with Milwaukee. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they're just waiting for the new season. I'm sure at some point we'll see a rash of signings. The ones that are playing with the Milwaukee, they probably got to wait till that series is over to worry about that. And none of this really would affect their salary cap. I think they've got over $6 million available, and the salary cap is going up for next year. I know some players, the big name players, none of which the Preds have to worry about, are where those players are kind of waiting for the new salary cap. I think that was one of the issues with Rankinen on why he got moved around a little bit. Not specifically him, but another player. No, maybe it was him. But yeah, I mean, some of the players were looking for bigger contracts, and I think that was the issue in Colorado, was that they didn't want to pay Rankinen more than they were paying their primary. Whoever it is that they pay the most to. They didn't want to pay them more than that, and that's what they were going to have to do. And so that caused some issues. But anyway, Preds don't have any of those issues, so I guess we'll figure it out along the way. But that's your Predators update. As far as other random things, the Utah has announced their new name on the 7th of May. They are now the Utah Mammoth, singular, tusks up. Yeah, no S on Mammoth. So we finally know what they're going to be. They've announced their design. It looks kind of cool. Yeah, I had high hopes for Vegas when they came out, but I was thrilled with their logo and everything. But yeah, Seattle did a great job. So Utah, I think Utah did a pretty nice job. Good thing they didn't go with Utah Hockey Club. That would have been something. Other things, the draft lottery, if you haven't kept up with that, back on May 5th, the draft lottery happened. That set the position of the teams that did not make the playoffs. And the Preds were third. And the worst situations happened. Teams behind them moved ahead of them, so they moved to 5th, which is not the worst thing in the world. But the Islanders, who were 10th, and the most you can move up is 10 in the lottery, they were 10th, and they they won the first lottery, which moved them to number 1. And then Utah won the second lottery, they were 14th, and that moved them to number 4. So San Jose, that was in the number 1 position, got moved to 2. Chicago, who was in the second position, got moved to 3, and then Nashville got moved to 5, and everybody else is ordered according to how they finished the season. And I don't know why this seems to have been hard to figure out. Leading up to this, I wanted to know what the odds were with regards to each of the teams, and it seemed to be a hidden thing, as if it wasn't set in stone, which I think it is, because it's the same every year so far. So the Preds had an 11.5% chance of getting the first pick. San Jose was 18.5, so that those numbers are published. I don't know why they weren't easy to find. Maybe I just wasn't sure what I was looking for, but yeah. By the way, I'm your host, Preston Proctor. Jumping right into it, forgot to introduce myself. Hey, I'm Preston Proctor. This is Predators Proclivity. We're full of the pre-pro. And yeah, so that takes us into the free agent watch, which there's not really anything going on right now. As for a playoff update, yeah, I did decent in the first round. I picked 6 correct winners, 6 out of 8, 75%. I got 3 of the games, is the number of games correct. So that's not that great. And did similarly here in the second round. I got 3 of the 4 winners, and only 1 of the 4 I got the right number of games. So I had Washington in 7, and of course that was Carolina in 5. I had Florida in 6, and it actually turned out to be Florida in 7. They could have won in Game 6. They just did not. And then I had Dallas in 6, and Dallas won in 6. And I had Edmonton in 6, and they took care of business in 5. So, yeah, once again, I guess I picked the Kings. I had the Kings in 6, and Edmonton won in 6. So I had the games right, but who cares? I got it wrong. Yeah, so there you go. My ability to pick the number of games a series goes is not my strength. Picking the winner, not great, but I'm going to do it anyway. Here we are, and the problem I've got is that there are only 2 matchups, so it's going to be tough to be 75% with only 2 matchups. All right. So I've done a little bit more analysis on this one than I did in the previous rounds, a lot more teams, so a lot more intensive, but I decided to go ahead and take a look at goals for, goals against, those types of things. And then on top of that, look at what the teams did in the regular conference and in the regular season. And yeah, so let's just, I guess, we usually start with the Eastern Conference. That way we can finish with the more important Western Conference. Eastern Conference is number 4 Carolina versus number 5 Florida. That matchup does have the Metropolitan number 2 versus the Atlantic 3, but they finished 4th and 5th in the conference standings. And Florida won those matchups. They played, it's November. They played back-to-back. This is one of these situations that I just don't kind of understand. I kept saying all year, it's a schedule, and it's a schedule. On November 29th, they played at Carolina, and then on the 30th, they played at Florida. So they played consecutive days, and they had to travel from Raleigh down to Sunrise. Why, I don't know. But they played those back-to-back games, and Florida won both of those, 3-6 and 0-6. So I guess since they won 6-0 and 6-3, 6-3 in Raleigh, and then 6-0 in Sunrise. And then they played about a month later in Sunrise again, and Carolina won that time 3-1. So they haven't met each other since January 2nd. So I think you can kind of pretty much throw that out the water. Kind of like Carolina's pathetic road record during the regular season. They were 16-21-4 for the worst. They have the worst road record of any team coming into the playoffs. The Kings were next. The Kings had a much better home record, though, and you see where that put them. The Kings were 31-6-4 at home, 17-19-5 on the road. Carolina 16-21-4 on the road, 31-9-1 at home, and I think they've kind of turned that around because they've took care of business. They took Washington out in 5. They had to start in Washington, and they won the first game in overtime, then lost in Washington, one at home, then one in Washington, one at home. So, one at home, that was 2 games in Raleigh, and so they finished it all off in D.C., so they lost the second game, took care of business in 5 there, and then in the first round, another 5-game series. So that one had a couple of double overtime wins. They got pushed a little bit by New Jersey in the games, but not in the number of games. So Carolina had 2 series that are 4-1. Florida took care of Tampa Bay in 5, and then had to go 7 to beat Toronto. So they've had they just finished yesterday. So they've had a much harder second round. I'd say probably about the same first round. And they a little bit evener. I don't know. 20-19-2 on the road, which is not stellar, but it's a winning record. 27-12-2 at home. So yeah, that's teams looking, these teams look pretty even. I went back and I took a look at the scoring in the overall in the regular season, and then in the playoffs. And then with the playoffs, the stats came over as, number of goals for, number of goals against. But of course, the teams in the playoffs, 16 teams in the playoffs, they all played a different number of games. So it didn't necessarily translate to who was the best. And taking a look at Florida and Carolina, we'll just stick with those 2 teams for now. As far as goals for in the playoffs, they are first with the number of goals scored at 45. And as far as I guess I should have done the by average. I didn't do the by average on the total. That would have been smart. But they were first. They're first in the in all the teams on goals for with 45. Second in the league in the first period, and first in the league in the second period. Second in the league in the third period. So they 11, 16, and 17 goals for, which averaging it out, they're actually 7th in the of the playoff teams, and then 3rd, 7th in the first period, and then 3rd in the second and third. So they are on average even per game one of the higher scoring teams. And followed, or actually slightly ahead in the third period is Carolina. Carolina is second, and in the third period, 12th in the first on average, 5th in the second on average. So they're not as, much. In fact, actually, they're not last scoring in the first. Apparently, Montreal only scored one goal in the first period in their series. No shocker. They didn't move forward. But Carolina has only scored 5 goals. Granted, they've only played 10 games, but they've only scored 5 goals in the first period here in the playoffs. And so I had to go back and I'm like, okay, so where were they in the regular season? Well, in the regular season, they were 20th in the league. They scored 68 goals. They were 20th. They're the lowest team in the first period of those that are left, the 4 teams that are left, so 20th in the first period. So they're not, I guess they're just not a team that scores a lot in the first period this season, which is fine. They don't score a lot in the first period. Then they would go up to 5th. In the regular season, they were 5th in the second and third period, scoring 94 and 99. So in the regular season, they scored 68 goals in the first and then went up a whopping bit to 94 and 99. Now, in the similarly, They've performed similarly here in the playoffs, scoring 5 goals in the first, 12 in the second, and 12 in the third. Florida, much higher, 11 goals in the first, 16 in the second, 16 in the third. Of course, they played 2 extra games. They played 2 more games than Carolina. So on average games per, they are 7th to Carolina's 12th in the first. And then in the second period, Florida is 3rd and Carolina's 5th. And then in the third period, Carolina is higher, 2nd to Florida's 3rd. So, Florida historically in, I guess, the goals against department, in the regular season, they were very stingy. All 4 teams were in the bottom part of the league. No real surprise overall. That's overall. I guess the other general comments is that all 4 of these teams are teams that are in the top 10 in scoring in the second period, and they are in the bottom 19th to 26th. So definitely the bottom half of the league in being scored against in the second. They had to go from 19th to 26th, and there's a 5-goal differential. So they are, as far as the second period goes, the 4 of the teams that score the most and 4 teams that give up the least. So back to my mantra about the Preds not playing well in the second period. We can see here that just looking at these stats, that being able to beat your opponents, outscore your opponents in the second period looks pretty good. You should have a lot of success with that. So when it comes to this Florida-Carolina matchup, Carolina just played Washington. Washington, very high scoring, very low goals against team. And, they took care of business with the Capitals. Florida scores a lot, gives up a lot, not per game. So, I think Carolina's defense is going to have to step up. Carolina obviously was not a very good road team during the regular season, but they have changed that. The playoffs are different. Everything that you did over the course of 82 games led you to the playoffs, but playing in the playoffs is a whole different animal. So, we can see how they perform in the playoffs, and that's more indicative of what they're going to do moving forward than what they did in the regular season. And so I think Carolina's a really good team. They are currently missing 3 players: Jordan Martinook, Mark Jankowski, and Jalen Chatfield. All day today. Martinook, I think, would be the biggest loss if he doesn't come back. They're all, according to Puckpedia, scheduled to be back tomorrow. So they're all planning. This is expected. Who knows how that's going to work out. But Florida doesn't have anybody listed as injured. So Chatfield, Jankowski, and Martinook all day today. Most likely available tomorrow, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. But anyway, those 2 teams I think are going to match up really well. It's funny. One of the things that one of the things that I've said, and I think in general is very true, is the Western Conference is more defensive. And as far as these 4 teams go, I don't think that's the case. I think it kind of switched, actually. I think the more offensive teams are in the Western Conference, and Carolina seems to be a very good defensive team. And but they have the ability to score. And they just flat out have the ability to score. Now, they did lose 2 games to Florida way back when. I think that was partially, I think that was during the time where Anderson was out, their goaltender. Don't know that really mattered. But I think, just I'm throwing that out. I think this is going to be a very competitive series. Florida, played well against Toronto. They, obviously took care of Tampa Bay, which I was not expecting, did not predict. And I think this is going to be another 6 or 7 game series. Neither, Carolina's dispatched the first 2 and 5. That's not going to be the case this time. I think Florida is going to be able to hang with Carolina some regards, and I think Carolina in 7. That's my prediction. So that's I want to pick Carolina, and so I'm going to. Florida, the Stanley Cup, defending Stanley Cup champion, They played really well this playoffs. Gotta give it to them. They've really stood up and come through. But I think this is the end of their repeat quest. That's. I'm going to go with that. I couldn't talk myself out of it. I tried. I had a hard time coming up with a reason why I thought Carolina would win. That's why I had to go back to look at the Washington series and go, well, yeah, okay. I can see it. I think this is also, I mean, I said there's going to be a lot of, I think the more offensive teams are in the West, but I think there's going to be scoring. I mean, Carolina in the regular season, not a team that scored in the first, but I think that's Florida team that, I don't know. For some reason, I think Carolina's got a, no, I guess that's Dallas. Dallas has got to score in the first. So anyway, Carolina in 7. And we're going to go with that. As far as the Western Conference, we have a rematch. Last year was Dallas and Edmonton. Dallas and Edmonton last year as well. And I had Dallas in 6, and of course it was Edmonton in 6. This year, Dallas has beaten Edmonton twice. So Dallas is 2-1. They played in October. Dallas won 4-1. They played in Dallas. and then didn't see each other again until March. And they played twice in March in Edmonton. And Edmonton won the first game 5-4, and then Dallas won the second one 4-3. So in all three of those games, Dallas has scored 4 goals. So I kind of want to go out on the limb and say Dallas is going to score 4 goals in every game against Edmonton. And you know that's not going to be true. That's not going to work out that way, but it's kind of fun to say. Yeah, tough one. This is another tough one for me because those of you that listen to my podcast regularly know I do not like Edmonton. I don't actually. Actually, that's not true. Edmonton's fine. I do not like all the emphasis that is given to Connor McDavid and how just like he's the second coming. You know. Jokingly call him Connor McJesus, and my apologies to those that may think that's blasphemy, but we didn't come up with it, but it's common calling that. He can do no wrong. He can go up to the refs and complain about something, and they'll call a penalty. I just think that I mean he's a good player. Don't get me wrong. He's a good player. But I think that his story has just gotten pushed a little too much. And, last year the NHL had their thumb on the playoffs and potentially even during the regular season. I'm not sure that's the case this year. I guess we'll see. So, if it just wasn't Connor McDavid every day of the year, like I said at one point, thank goodness Ovechkin didn't score the goal on the same day Connor McDavid came back to, because nobody would ever heard that Ovechkin broke Gretzky's record, because all anybody would want to talk about is how McDavid was back. So maybe McDavid just decided to stay out until Ovechkin broke the record. He didn't want to overshadow Ovechkin, I don't know. It's not his fault. He's not the one doing it. I had this issue with Tiger Woods. I used to watch golf. I don't watch golf anymore. I just not interesting. And it was really not interesting when Tiger Woods is in the tournament before or now, because all the announcers do is they show Tiger Woods. The best comment for me on that is that I was watching one of the majors, and they showed golf was going on. I mean, it may have been the final round. I don't remember which round it was, but there was golf going on. There was people playing golf, hitting golf shots, and they showed Tiger Woods tying his shoes in the driving range. That's not his fault, but it's like, oh my gosh, I am so tired of everything being about Tiger Woods. And, it just, for me, it turned me off to watching golf. I just don't watch golf anymore. So I just don't care. I play golf. I getting back into officiating tournaments and, being a volunteer at golf tournaments, because that stuff's fun. But as far as watching golf or caring about golf or knowing who's a golfer, I wasn't even good in my heyday. I stopped Noah, what's his name? Gosh, Begay? God. See, can't even remember the name of the professional golfer who I stopped coming into the driving range because I didn't see his PGA credentials. You figure a guy walking there, a guy right behind him with carrying a bag. Nota Begay. There we go, Nota Begay. I stopped him, asked for his credentials. Hey, it was my job. I was supposed to keep people out of the driving range. Anyway, so that's my beef with Connor McDavid. Draisaitl we don't care for either, but that's just the normal hatred of somebody who's plays really well for the other team. With Connor McDavid, it's just a whole different level. So I don't want to pick Edmonton, and I actually talked myself out of it. I actually talked myself out of picking Edmonton. I did pick Edmonton, and I didn't pick them against LA. You guys know I'm an LA King fan. Not going to do that. Really hoped they got by it. I think the difference was that Pickard is out currently, and he's not supposed to be back. And Ekholm hasn't been in the playoffs to date. He's currently scheduled to come back in this round, so that'd be good. I hate to see people out injured, but I did note that the Kings beat Edmonton the first 2 games with Pickard and I know I pronounce his name wrong. I can't help myself. It's Jean-Luc Picard, Jean-Luc Calvin Picard, or Calvin Jean-Luc Picard, and he was in goal for the first 2 games against LA, and LA won those 2 games, and they switched to Skinner, and then won the next 4. And I don't know that is the reason, but I being a big Jonathan Quick fan, and having watched intimately the games, that might be a little too much, but watched I watch a little bit of these games, I turn them on, watch a little bit of it. We do other things in the evening, and then, turn it back on, watch a little bit more. Don't watch every play, but, when the Kings were in their playoff runs, always watched every game, and, do it with the Predators now, when they were in the playoffs this year. But I know that a hot goaltender in the playoffs will steal a series, and Jonathan Quick did that. There's no way the Kings would have 2 Stanley Cups today without Jonathan Quick. Other players as well, but they definitely rode their defense to the Stanley Cup, and so Skinner could be doing that for Edmonton. I haven't really watched the games, haven't evaluated it from that standpoint. Hellebuck, you just knew Hellebuck wasn't. I like Winnipeg, and definitely Connor Hellebuck has had a hell of a season, but they won the President's Cup. They're not going to win the Stanley Cup trophy. So, was that enough of that? Let me take a quick break, and then I'll get back on here. Okay, so back to the Dallas-Edmonton matchup. During the regular season, Dallas was 3rd in the league in scoring overall, 275 goals in the overall, which was 3rd. 4th in the league in the first, 9th in the league in the second, and 7th in the league in the third, which is really good. Now, the thing about Edmonton was 1st in the league in scoring in the second period. But where Edmonton won against LA, it was the 3rd period. And here in the playoffs, they've been pretty good. In the third, they are 1st in the league in the playoff teams of scoring in the 3rd period. That's 19 goals, and even on a per game average, they're 1st. So they're winning their games in the 3rd period, and they believe they did that against Vegas too. There was at least one game where they came back, and I think Vegas had to win it in overtime. But Edmonton is definitely hard to beat in the 3rd period. So, okay, where does Dallas fall in that? So Dallas is in goals against, they're 4th in the 3rd period with 13. You go per goal, and they fall to 10th. Still the highest of the remaining playoff teams. On average, these are 4 of the lowest. Carolina is 16th, the last. Edmonton is 14th. Florida 13th, and then you pop up to Dallas being 10th. So out of 16 teams, 3 of these teams are the lowest 4 teams on giving up goals in the 3rd period. So they're very stingy, but Edmonton is 1st in scoring on average per game in the playoffs. They're 1st, Carolina's 2nd, and Florida is 3rd, and Dallas drops to 12th. So that's not their forte. And, unfortunately, I guess they're 10th on average goals against. So, I shudder to think that Dallas is going to give up similarly goals in the third period to Edmonton. Goals for in the playoffs, Edmonton is second. But that's, total goals, so not by average. And Dallas is sixth. Dallas is second in the playoff teams with 13 goals in the second period. Florida's first, Dallas is second, and Carolina is third. Edmonton is fourth. So that's there you go. By average, though, it's a little different. Florida's third, Carolina's fifth, and that's not right. Well, maybe that is right. And both, and I guess Dallas and Edmonton are tied at sixth. So this is a tough one. Dallas scored a lot in the first period in the regular season. They had not taken that into the playoffs. They have been a lot more defensive-minded, it seems, in the first period. They are, on average, for goal scoring in the first period, Dallas is 15th out of 16 teams. In the regular season, they were fourth with 84 in the first period. So they, throughout the season, they've been really good in the first period, scored a lot in the first period. And that's a period that Edmonton does have their most trouble. They are, even in the playoffs, they're third. Of the four teams left, they have the highest average goals against in of these four teams. So they're third of the playoff teams. Dallas is 11th. So per game in the first period, Edmonton has shown that they're going to give up goals. And in the regular season, the same thing. They were seventh in the league. So they gave up a lot of goals in the first period. Did not in the second and third. So Dallas, I think, is going to have to channel that goal scoring that they did in the regular season in the first period and channel that, come out strong, come out hard against Edmonton in order to win this. The other thing is interesting. Dallas has been outscored in every period except overtime. So as far as goals scored, being goal scored against, they're down 3 in the first, 3 in the second, and 1 in the third. Again, not they're 3-0 in overtime. Edmonton is 2-0 in overtime. But overtime is the only place where Dallas actually is outscoring their opponents overall. You can see, you kind of walking through this, you can see why I felt like I was going to pick Edmonton. And originally I did. Like I said, Edmonton was first in the second period in regular season, but not in the playoffs, which is Dallas's weakness. But Edmonton has come on in the playoffs to really score a lot more in the third. In the regular season versus Dallas, Skinner did play all three. Dallas is 2-1 against Edmonton, and so those were all against Skinner. As far as the late season, the ones in March, that was split. Both of those games were in Edmonton. Edmonton 1-1, Dallas 1-1. Both Skinner was in the lineup on both of those. That's kind of the walkthrough on that. A lot of that one was tough. That one was tough for me because it just looking at the numbers going, it just looked like an Edmonton. Yeah, that's my comment. It looks like Edmonton in 6, and I kept thinking 6 is right, but it felt like Dallas. So that's my prediction there. Dallas in 6. So that's where we're at. I'll be 75% and I'll get one of these games numbered right. I really feel like it's the 6. I don't know, the Carolina in 7. So, yeah. But there you go. That's my predictions for the conference finals, which start tomorrow. Tomorrow, the 20th. Toronto is not in it. No, it's Florida. Carolina, Florida. So they start off in Raleigh. They'll play 2 in Raleigh and then 2 in Sunrise and go from there. Again, the format is 2-2-1-1-1. So the 5th game back in Raleigh, 6th game in Sunrise, and game 7 in Raleigh. Edmonton, Dallas, they will start off in Dallas, and then 2 in Dallas, and then 2 in Edmonton. They start Wednesday. So the games are every other day, and starting with the East Coast, even though Dallas, Western Conference finished first. So not sure why the Eastern Conference is going first, but that's, probably when they set it up. I don't know how they set this stuff up, but there you go. At least they're starting at the same time. I think years ago they would, as soon as the teams that were matched up to go against each other were available, they would start scheduling. So you'd have these big gaps between things, and I don't know. You gotta come up with a way of doing it and go with it. As far as having the teams getting the schedule, getting the stadium, making sure the stadium's available, that kind of stuff. Yeah, I mean, they would have been looking at this, ahead of time. And, then, the Predators knew they weren't going to be, so they didn't need to worry about making sure the stadium was available. But if you were going to be a playoff team, you had to start working with the arena to make sure you had the dates. And I don't know how they do all that stuff. Maybe they reserve some dates, and ahead of time. And then, as things flux and become clearer, then they can release some days, and we're like the Preds, just tell them, well, we're done. We'll be done, and we'll be done in April. So no worries. Have all your concerts scheduled. Anyway, so that's back to the Predators. This is the Predators podcast. This is the Predators Proclivity, not official podcast of the Nashville Predators. But definitely mostly about the Predators here, except now that the playoffs are on. So, but I'm trying. Like I said, haven't heard anything back. Go Admirals. I don't think they play tonight. Or do they? When do they play? They play Wednesday, so they will play. Today is Monday, so they play Wednesday. Yeah, okay. There you go. Back to the Admirals. Anyway, that's my conference final preview, and you guys have a great time watching this hockey. It's a good time of the year for very exciting hockey. Not as much hockey because you only have the 2 series, but at least the games should be pretty exciting. So anyhow, well, thanks for listening. I'm Preston Proctor. You've been listening to Predators Proclivity.